God has just completely taken me from a place where I was really dull and empty and miserable and just burnt out with what I was doing, and totally freed me from that and brought me into this place where I have total peace and yeah, just freedom. My entire life I grew up riding horses, and I always wanted to go professional and just ride these show jumping horses and travel and compete. And in 2018 I actually got the opportunity to do that. I had this amazing show horse. I had awesome clients. I was teaching little kids how to ride. I was training horses that I would have never had the opportunity to ride, and it was my childhood dream that I was living. But I was super dull and miserable, and I hated it, and I didn't want to go to work every morning. I would wake up and just be like, oh my gosh, this is not what I want to be doing. And one of my best friends, who is a missionary, actually came home after a few years being away to do some visa stuff, and she was like, hey, have you thought about doing this missions organization, doing this missions program for 5 months with Youth with a Mission? And I was like, you know, that sounds cool, but I can't really just give up 5 months of my life to do something like that. I have work to do. I have people counting on me. I can't do that. And she was like, okay, you can't give me 5 months, but will you give me a weekend? And I said, okay, I can give you a weekend. So she took me home to where we had done this camp when we were younger, and we went to this missions conference. And while I was there, I reconnected with one of my old mentors from when I was a young teen, and got talking with him and chatting about what I'd been up to, and he asked me, who are you? And I was like, oh, you know, I've been doing the horse thing, you know, living my dream. And he was like, no, you just told me a lot of things that you do. You didn't tell me who you are. Who are you? And I wasn't able to answer his question. So he really just caught me off guard. And I went home from that just feeling really confused about what I was doing and purpose and identity and what is that. So I got home and I opened my Bible for the first time in a while, and where the ribbon was from the last time I'd been reading my Bible, it was in Isaiah 6, where it says, here I am, send me. And I was like, oh shoot, God speaks. And so I, from there, decided to just radically change everything that I was doing. I sold my horse and applied to staff a mission trip that summer. And yeah, so I was just totally ready for what God was gonna do, but I was still living in that emptiness because I didn't really understand relationship with God or anything like that. So on the weekends, my favorite pastime was to go on these climbing trips, and you know, we would go out into the mountains and smoke a bunch of pot and climb rocks, and it was awesome, and it was just that was what we did, right? Yeah, so that weekend, this was sometime in May in 2019, I was on this climbing trip, and we met these Romanian guys. They had bongos, it was great, and they taught us how to shotgun beers, and we were like, this is a party, this is awesome. So I wake up the next morning, and naturally I'm super hungover. I feel terrible, and my phone rings. But we were way up in the mountains, and we didn't have cell service all week, so I don't know why my phone was ringing. So I answered it, even though it was from some weird number, and it was the people in New Zealand accepting me to do my discipleship training school in New Zealand. And I was like, okay, it's time to make some changes. God is actually moving and actually speaking, and that was the moment when I realized that it was so much bigger than just me, and that I needed to actually make some changes and do what God was calling me to do. So I did my DTS and just really learned what it was like to have a relationship with God. I learned that God does speak, and he does speak to me, and that he actually cares about me, which was this radical notion that I had never thought of before. I had no idea that God actually cared about me and had time for me. So when I look at myself 2 years ago, I see this person who was feeling just really dull and empty, and I know now that the reason is because God wasn't in it. And so God has just completely changed all of that and just filled me with so much joy, and yeah, just completely lifted my spirits, and now I'm just so excited to get up every morning.